Okay, so we are back now in regular session. It is 12:02. We are on item number 5. So, a couple of things that I want to clarify. There was I read through a lot of the public comment. I think that there might be a little confusion on the fact that this rule may be, quote, new to some people. I want to clarify that the rule that the board adopted and those rules that are written are there because of the way that the current statute is written. So the statutes, which are the laws, which is what the legislation does, so the law says, here's these things you can and cannot do, or here's the definition of this or definition of that, what is or is not in the scope of practice. That's what the legislators do. And then the board then takes what those legislators enacted, which is the law or the statutes, they mean the same thing. They then have to create a rule that clarifies that law or statute. So I think that there's some confusion thinking that the board has the authority to write rules that determine what the scope of practice of estheticians and advanced estheticians are. However, that is not the case. The definitions of those are written in statute or law, which is what the legislators did. And then this rule then is to clarify those statutes and to give some clarity to licensees on how those statutes apply to them. So I want to clarify that. I also want to clarify that it was back in 2015 that the legislation enacted that law that created a certification to practice advanced non-ablative aesthetics. The legislature defined advanced non-ablative aesthetics as procedures that use lasers or other devices that are registered with the FDA for non-ablative procedures performed on the skin or hair. As a result of these statutes, estheticians who wanted to practice advanced non-ablative aesthetics could not do so until they had a certificate from the Advanced Non-Ablative Aesthetics Board. These statutes are found in 676-630 to 676-660 and can also be found on our website. Then in 2019, the Board of Cosmetology passed a rule, which was the Administrative Rule 817-010-0067, to help estheticians understand what was required in the statutes. A lot of numbers here. In the statute 676-630 through 676-660, that rule provided the FDA's definition of device under the statutes. So in some of the comments, they didn't like the way that we had defined device. However, we don't get to define a device, we meaning the board or the office. Device is then defined by the FDA. So what we did was put in the rule the FDA's definition of device. And I think that there's some confusion on that also, thinking that we get to change what an FDA device is or is not, but we don't. That's what the FDA gets to do. And then this rule was passed after multiple meetings of a Rules Advisory Committee and board meetings. Even though HLO sent out information about the new advanced aesthetic statutes to the esthetician stakeholders on multiple occasions since its passage, the impact of enactment of the 817-010-0067 is that many of the aesthetics community were better able to understand the restrictions in the scope of practice, meaning that some people didn't realize that the statutes were already in place and already had restricted their scope of practice and thought that the rule then came in place and did it, when in fact the rules were there just to clarify what the statute, which is the law, was already in place. So and then in 2020, so in the beginning of this year, a group of estheticians went to the legislation to ask the legislation to pass a new statute allowing estheticians to use galvanic current, high-frequency microcurrents, light-emitting diode therapy, and microdermabrasion devices without an advanced non-ablative aesthetic certificate. This proposed law was called House Bill 4016. House Bill 4016 would have allowed estheticians regulated by the Board of Cosmetology to use galvanic current, high-frequency microcurrents, light-emitting diode therapy, and microdermabrasion as mechanical or electrical apparatuses, appliances, or devices. There did not appear to be any opposition to House Bill 4016, However, the legislation had to shut down due to quorum issues. So what the office is proposing to do, since the law is the law and the rule's there to, quote, clarify the law, is that we're kind of in this unique situation. So, because it appears that the legislation would have passed 4016, and had the legislation been in session, they most likely would have passed it. So as a result, until January 1 of 21, the Health Licensing Office is going to exercise its discretion to not impose disciplinary actions of violations of licensees to practice these procedures. So this applies only to a licensed esthetician regulated by the Board of Cosmetology who does not have advanced aesthetics license, because obviously it'd be covered if they had one. And it only applies to those devices that that group we're trying to get add to the definition of aesthetics, which is the galvanic current, the high frequency microcurrents, light emitting diode therapy, and microdermabrasion. And then HLO will continue to exercise its discretion and impose discipline on other issues, which are, like, for instance, if somebody was to get hurt or there's other things going on. So we would still be able to cite somebody for negligence or incompetence or unprofessional conduct, but we'll refrain from citing them for using those devices. And that will be until January 1 of 21. And then if nothing has occurred legislative-wise, we will address that again at the end of the year. Usually we will know if there's a legislative concept in place, because they have to be submitted by a certain timeline, because the next legislative session, if there's not an emergency session between now and then, will start in February of 21. So we'll know if there's a legislative concept in the works for changing the definition of aesthetics and advanced aesthetics. And if there is, then the office can then extend that out another year, waiting for that statutory change to occur. And then if nothing was to actually go through a legislative change, which means the definition is the definition and it's not going to change, then the office would not extend that, year grace period, and we would have to start implementing disciplinary action for people working outside their scope. But it's my understanding from talking to legislators and obviously listening to the public and talking to board members that everybody's on agreement that we need to change the definition of aesthetics to include those devices that have been being used that are not lasers, and they're not the supposedly part of what people feel that an advanced esthetician should be, a certificate for advanced aesthetics should be required in order to use them. Does anybody have any questions, board members, on that?
No.
Okay, so there was lots of public comment, so if there any board member who wanted to talk about any of the public comment that we got, and kind of their concerns, their issues, anything that you want to talk about for the public comment that we received after the last board meeting in writing that's in your materials.
This is Reichner. I'd like to speak real quick.
Sure.
So I just wanted to start by saying that we talked a lot about what you guys have brought before us, and I think that you actually, I can only speak for myself, but I certainly support your end goal, and I think that there was substantial support amongst other people for your end goal as well. However, if we could change the statute, if we could change the law, I think that you probably have good luck with us in regards to that. It's unfortunate that we don't have the ability to change the statute, and even if we were to amend the rule or repeal the rule, it wouldn't change the underlying law itself. So despite the fact that or at least I'll speak for myself, despite the fact that I personally support changing the rule and allowing just traditional estheticians to use those technologies, it's not within my power or the board's power to change the underlying law to allow it. That doesn't mean that we don't agree with you, but that I don't agree with you. And when it goes back to the legislature, if I can support that change just as a person, I will certainly do anything I can within my power to support the change of the legislation, because I agree with you that it should be changed. However, as a board member, I don't think that we have any authority or ability to actually make formal or concrete changes in that direction, no matter how much we wish we could. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ragnar. Amber, do you have anything that you wanted to say?
Yeah, this is Amber, and I second Roger's comments. I want you to know that I have thoroughly vetted everything I could possibly think of to find a way to address this on our end. And I think that we, as board members, I'm not speaking on behalf of other board members, but I'm just saying as a board, have tried everything we can to fix this on our end. But at this point, we are completely bound by the statute or the law. And we, as your peers, know that the best way to go about this is to go back to the legislature. And as Roger said, if there's anything I can do as an individual to support that, I'm totally going to, because I've done legislation and I know what it takes and I know how hard that is. But that is your power. That's the power that you have as individuals, as community members, and as our peers. And so I just want you all to know that I've listened, I've heard, and I genuinely care how this affects you as individuals and your businesses, your livelihoods, your families, and all that. So please understand that we care. We spent a lot of time, I spent a lot of time asking questions, trying to find ways to navigate around this for the best interest of, the community and for you as petitions. So please know that our decision is based on my vote in this is based on what I know will be for the end result for you to be able to practice. And I just want you to know that I care.
Thank you, Amber. Tracy, did you have anything you want to say?
I just would say that, make sure my mic is on.
We can hear you.
I just want to say, yeah, thank you. I just wanted to say, Amber and Roger both, they spoke it accurately. We discussed, and I heard what you were saying, and I want to encourage you to continue to pursue this in a way so that there is a delineation distinction between the advanced aesthetics and practicing estheticians, so that you can continue moving forward with the scope of practice that you've had before. So we hear you and we support you. That's it.
Thank you, Tracy. Hein, did you have anything you want to say?
Hi, my name is Yen. Well, so far I have read a lot of comments about the problems that you are having right now based on the law that we discussed. But so far, for now, we cannot change it. But like Ms. Amber or Mr. Ragnar or Ms. Tracy just said, we still care about your situation, and we still fight for it. So just don't give up. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. Harold?
Yes, thank you. And I would agree with everybody on the board, and we did give this a lot of discussion. So everything that each individual board member has said, we agree, and I agree with what they said. So again, we went into a lot of discussion about it, and we heard your voices. That's all I have to say.
All right, perfect. Anybody else have anything else they want to say about the rule petition before we move on to the actual items for board action number 6? Any more questions, comments, concerns? All right, we will move on. Item number 6, which is items for board action. If somebody could make a motion on what they would like to do with the rule petition.
This is Ragnar. I move that we deny the petition, but give support to them outside of it. So move to deny.
This is Amber. I second.
Okay, a motion has been made and seconded. I will now call roll, indicate with yay or nay. Ragnar?
Yay.
Amber?
Yay.
Tracy?
Yay.
Heen?
Yay.
And Harold?
Yay.
All right, motion carries. On to item number 7, which is other board business. The only thing I have is that we will update the website and we will draft up a memo to go out to all estheticians and all interested parties, kind of talking about the whole background of the statute and the rule and what the office is willing to do or, quote, not do for the next, till the end of the year. And then we will also make sure and keep an eye on the legislation and keep you updated on that. We do currently have your next board meeting set is August 17th. However, that may change depending on if they bring anything up during session. And then also that may change depending on how the COVID-19 stuff goes. So we will keep you updated on that. Hopefully by then they'll have lifted the ban on meeting, because we haven't had board meeting, not just with you guys, but with a whole lot of other boards for a while. And so things are just going to start piling up real quick and we need to get some stuff done. So, but we'll just keep you updated. Other than that, does anybody have, besides me, and have any other board business?
No.
Okay. If you think of anything later, you can email Sammy or Maria or me or anybody here in the office. We just get it to the right person. But other than that, I will read my little script. So the Board of Cosmetology meeting is adjourned at 12:19 p.m. All right.